Alison Holloway, the Unexpected Dietitian.
That's
How are
me.
you?
I'm well, thank you. Very
Thanks
well.
for meeting me. So the very first question, nutritionists versus dietitians.
Oh, that is always the first question, nutritionist versus dietitian. And I think it's because people don't really know what the difference is.
Yes, 100%.
So the difference is
Yes.
dietitian is a legally protected term.
Okay, right.
So
Yeah.
you cannot call yourself a dietitian
Yes.
in the UK unless you are registered with the Health and Care Professionals Council.
Okay, right.
If you do, it's illegal. So
Okay, yeah.
dietitians are medically trained
Right.
in nutrition.
Okay.
So we do a degree
Yeah.
and we do a clinical placement in hospitals and other places. To be a nutritionist, or you could be a nutritionist tomorrow.
That's the thing. That you can just all of a sudden decide and go, I'm a nutritionist, and then give out potentially incorrect information.
You could.
Even with the best intentions.
Yeah, you could. And there are well-qualified nutritionists, don't get me wrong. My degree is nutrition.
Yeah.
So you can be a registered nutritionist as well.
Okay, right.
But it's not registration with the Health and Care Professionals Council.
Right, okay.
So you can do a degree in nutrition and be a registered nutritionist, which means you have there's some ethical control there and
I
you
get
have
you.
to stick to. But that still doesn't qualify you clinically
Okay, right.
in nutrition. So it's really difficult for nutritionists. I think there's those that are well qualified and registered.
Yes.
But then there's people that have maybe done a 2-day course.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think they know about it.
Yeah, whereas a dietitian, if I do something wrong,
Yes.
I'm going to be had up in front of a board and,
okay.
they're going to be looking at my professional registration.
Right, okay.
And I could lose my registration. So I have sort of those ethical standards to stick to.
Does anybody audit what you do? Like, is there anything that goes, right, look at these 3 cases that you've done during the year or anything like that? And
So there's like a cycle, really, that happens with Health and Care Professionals Council, which is a 3-year cycle.
Okay, right, yes.
So every 3 years, a random selection are chosen.
Okay, right, yeah.
And you have to kind of put in, how you've kept up to date, what you're doing in your area of expertise and all of those sort of things.
Yeah.
But we have regular supervision as well within our jobs with other, with our peer group
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. Oh, okay, right. Everybody kind of keeps an eye on what other people are doing.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
I understand. What led you to decide I want to be a dietitian?
Well, it was a bit random, really, because I didn't actually know what a dietitian was when I was at school. I'd never heard of a dietitian, never seen a dietitian, not a clue. Obviously, the internet wasn't a thing when I was at school. I am that old. So, I didn't know anything about being a dietitian. I actually decided I wanted to go into hotel management.
Oh, okay, wow, right.
And I went to see the careers advisor, because we had careers advisors in school then. Yeah. And he said, you can't go into hotel management because you haven't got any languages. You don't do any languages.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know what to do then.
Wow.
And he said, well, what do you like doing? And I said, well, I love food and I really love sciences.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, that makes sense.
And he said, how about a dietitian? And I went, a what? Oh, what's one of them?
Oh, wow.
And he told me and I thought, I like that idea.
That's amazing.
So I actually chose my GCSEs and my A-levels and then my degree to be a dietitian.
Wow.
So I knew from my GCSEs onwards that's what I was going to do.
But again, that's really interesting. That if it wasn't for that career guidance person knowing a dietitian, that he could have said, go be a chef or something like that.
It could. And actually, I did, the course I did to be a dietitian, there were quite a lot of people training in hotel management, in the same university. And on reflection, that would have been a disaster of a career for me.
Oh, okay. All right. Wow.
Because it involves shifts for one thing, and I am not a person that could do shifts.
Okay, right.
It involves management. I am not a manager. I am not a manager of people.
Right.
That's not something that makes me happy. So it would actually have not been
That's amazing.
the right career for me at all.
How that kind of just fell into place.
Yeah, just pure luck.
So how long have you been a dietitian? I know
30 years or over 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And how much has it changed over time? Like that?
Hugely.
Like, is it the thing like they recommended 30 years ago that drink lots of milk, eat lots of bread, and now they say, well, don't do it. Is that how it's changed, or is it just more accurate? Or
some of the food things have changed as new evidence has come out.
Yes.
But what's changed more is the things around that. So things like how we deliver information and advice has changed. So
right.
When I started, it was still very much a medical model. You told people what to do.
Yeah. I understand.
Which, most of us
Yes.
have moved away from that now and actually, have a grown-up conversation with people about what works for them and what else is happening in their life.
I gotcha.
Before we launch into the food stuff.
Yes.
So that's changed. Systems have changed. So we didn't use computers. We had written notes.
Yeah.
So that's completely different.
Right. Okay. And what was I going to say? How long does it take you to become a dietitian?
It's 4 years.
4 years through university.
Yeah.
Passing and stuff like that. So then you get out of university, you go, I'm a dietitian now.
Yeah.
And you go, I'm going to set up. Was your only option set up a business, or could you have gone to the NHS, or could you have done
No,
something?
I do work in the NHS. I am an NHS dietitian. I've always been an NHS dietitian.
Okay, right.
So I went straight into what then was called a basic grade job. It's now a band 5 job.
Okay, right, yes.
So you're a qualified dietitian, but you get more supervision and support because you're new.
Yeah, I understand.
And that was in sunny Barnsley.
Hey, that's all right.
So I did a year in Barnsley and then got a sort of promotion, if you like, or applied for a promotion to a job in Sheffield.
Yes.
And then I've stayed in Sheffield as a dietitian since.
Okay, right, yes.
And then at the end of kind of COVID, at late 2020, I also set up my private practice as well.
Okay, right.
So I do that alongside my NHS job.
I get you. So if somebody wanted to have a better diet, could they ring up the Unexpected Dietitian and go, I need an appointment? Is that how it works, or how does it?
They wouldn't phone me.
Okay. Because is your phone number not on the thing?
It is not.
Oh, right.
No.
Okay.
I'm a person that cannot, I do not like phone calls. I really dislike phone calls. So it's all instant booking through my website.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
And any random person can do it, not feeling well, want to review my diet, want to look at.
Well, anyone can do it, but I wouldn't accept everybody.
Okay,
because I have specialist areas. So dietitians, much like kind of consultants and physios and people like that, we have specialist areas. So yes, I could talk to you about most aspects of diet because I've been around for 30 years.
Yeah.
But I have specific things that I specialise in.
So what are your specialities then?
So in the NHS, I'm a diabetes specialist dietitian.
Okay, right.
So I work with type 1, type 2 diabetes and primarily with young people aged 16 to 25.
Okay, right, yes.
And then I have a specialist adult clinic, which is mainly people who have diabetes and eating disorders.
Okay, right. So bulimia, anorexia, that sort of thing.
Alongside the diabetes. So that's, risky and challenging.
Yes. It's very interesting. Like again, it's stuff that you don't think
you don't
about
think
when
about.
you're talking about.
No. And then in my private practice, I work mainly with people who are neurodivergent, so mainly people who have ADHD or autistic, and have chronic illnesses or eating disorders.
Right. Okay.
So that's slightly different.
Yeah. So just going through the type 1, type 2 diabetes, so 16, 25-year-old kids, they come into you. So just say tomorrow you get a new 16-year-old. What's the process of going through that? Is it reviewing what they eat? Is it their lifestyle? How do you do that?
It depends a little bit whether they've got type 1 or type 2 diabetes.
Okay, right.
So if they've got type 2 diabetes, it's kind of it's holistic lifestyle, if you like. So it might be about the balance of their diet. So the balance between carbohydrate, protein, fruits and vegetables, physical activity, sleep. So all the things that promote health.
Yeah, I get you.
And then if they have type 1 diabetes, it's generally learning about carbohydrates initially. Okay. Because they have to learn to count carbohydrates to match their insulin doses to the amount of carbohydrate that they eat.
So in my head, type 1 diabetes is you're born with it, and type 2 is you develop it in life.
No.
Is that backwards?
I know where you're going, but not quite.
Okay, right.
So very, very few people are born with type 1. You can develop type 1 at any point in your life.
Okay, right, yes.
It more commonly occurs in young people, but I've had people newly diagnosed in their 80s with type 1 diabetes.
Okay, right.
So you're not out of the woods yet, I'm afraid. Neither am I.
Yeah.
Look at that family history. Yeah, so you can get it at any age.
Okay, right.
It's just that the clinic I work in is a transition clinic between the children's and the adult hospital.
So then, I was talking to somebody who was, they were testing for somebody for diabetes, and she was explaining to me that carbs is something that now causes a lot of diabetes. Is that right or wrong? Or
no, it's wrong.
Right. So how do you, is there a way, is it like when I was younger, it was sugar, eat lots of sweets and you'll eventually get diabetes.
That's not true either.
There you go. Well, that's why we're talking, isn't it?
Yeah.
So is there, I know it sounds a bit weird, is there a surefire way to develop diabetes, or is it something that just happens, or is it something the way your body, it's obvious, it's the insulin in your body, but...
So again, it depends on type 1 or type 2.
Yeah.
So type 1 is an autoimmune condition.
Yes.
There is nothing you can do to stop yourself getting it.
Oh, and you can get it any time.
You can get it any time.
Okay, right.
It's more likely if you've got a family history of type 1 diabetes or autoimmune conditions.
Yes.
But it can happen to anybody.
Okay, right.
So there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
Although there's research going on looking at how they can delay or prevent the onset.
Yeah.
They're not there yet.
Right, okay.
Type 2 diabetes is a combination really of lifestyle and genetics again.
Okay, right.
So about 80% of people with type 2 diabetes will be overweight.
Okay, right.
But 20% won't be.
Yeah, okay, right, yes.
So to an extent, general healthy lifestyle advice can prevent cases of type 2 diabetes.
Right, okay.
So being careful about weight, eating plenty of vegetables,
yeah,
being active,
yeah,
getting plenty of sleep, those sort of things.
Right.
But if you've got a strong family history,
yes,
you're still at risk.
Okay, right, I understand.
But you can reduce your risk by doing the healthy lifestyle things.
And one of the big focus, obviously not the whole thing, but one of the big focuses is focus on carbs.
It is, but it's not all, it's necessary, but it's important not to be too focused on that.
Yeah,
because I think with type 2 diabetes, type 1's different. So I'll put type 1 to one side for a minute, but talking about type 2 diabetes, you've got to think about what are the changes that are sustainable for the rest of your life.
Okay, right, yes.
So it's all very well to go on a really, really strict restrictive diet.
Yes.
But how long are you going to keep that up? What does that do to your mental health? What does that do to your social health? Your ability to, be with your friends and do things that you enjoy. So, as a dietitian, I would look at all of those things and, moderate the diet to work with what also makes you happy.
Yes, I know.
Because there's no point in having perfect physical health and being sad.
Yeah.
Is there? I don't think so.
No.
I really value people just being happy.
Yes, I get you. I understand. And is that, if we went a different diet, is that the thought process with dietitians now, or do you think you're a bit unique? Or
I'm called the Unexpected Dietitian.
For a reason.
It varies, like any profession, isn't it? It varies. And I think that's why it's really important for, I think dietitians are quite holistic though, in terms of looking at all the things that are impacting on people's health.
Yes.
But it will vary depending on who you see.
Yeah.
I work in a team where that is really important to us. So we look, all the things that are affecting people's health. It might depend on the speciality as well, because sometimes, the diet has to be strict for clinical reasons.
Okay, right, yes.
Otherwise it wouldn't be safe. So it depends on what area you work in, really.
I understand. And then the adults with the eating disorders obviously has its own, is that again the same thing, looking at their lifestyle, trying to work around that? Are you trying to treat them disorders, or how does that work?
I suppose treatment's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, and there's different people and different things in it.
Yes.
And dietitians would be part of that.
Yes.
So they wouldn't be all of it. So people would generally have, I mean, if they were in specialist eating disorders care, they would have a team of people, including dietitian and psychology or a psychiatrist, depending on the place.
Right, okay.
And specialist nurses.
Yes.
And different types of therapists.
Yeah.
Where I am, because I'm kind of holding people, really, they're not necessarily in specialist eating disorder care.
Yes.
They're there because they've got diabetes.
Okay, right. Yes.
But obviously you can't separate the two
I know what you mean.
So they'll often have that care for their eating disorder elsewhere.
Oh, yes, yeah, I understand.
And I'll be holding the diabetes bit. But because diabetes involves talking about food, diet, weight, it's important to have someone that understands the eating disorder. Otherwise, you can create big problems for people.
So, would you all be talking, or how do you communicate, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I would talk to other professionals involved
on the case.
On the case, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
I get you. I understand.
Yeah.
Very good. And what do you think is the biggest struggle of being a dietitian? Is it getting people to eat what they say they're going to eat, or?
I think that's changed. I think the biggest struggle is the amount of dietary advice coming from various different directions for people.
Oh, okay, all right.
Whether that be from other health professionals that are not qualified to talk about food.
Yeah.
Or even more so influencers or the press.
Right, oh, okay.
Talking about food and things. And then as a dietitian, when I used to see patients, I used to be unpicking that grandma had told them to do something.
Yes, yeah, I know what you mean.
Now I'm unpicking, my doctor's told me this, the nurse has told me this social media influencers told me all of this, and the Daily Mail's told me that.
Yeah.
And I've got to unpick all of that.
Yes.
And build that I'm someone to trust when it comes to diet, because I might be saying that all of that is not what we need to be doing.
Yeah, I get you.
So it's like you're not starting at the beginning. You've got to go back, unpick everything, and then start.
I get you, I understand.
And that's quite different. That's changed a lot, even recently.
And do you think there's anywhere that gives a good dietary advice, or is it that everybody's a little bit different, if you know what I mean? If you were to say randomly now, go to this website and that's generally all right, or go to this place.
Yeah, it depends what it is you're looking for, doesn't it? But I mean, if I'm talking about diabetes, I'd say always go to Diabetes UK website, because they will be up to date. They will talk to dietitians. They have a medical team. I guess it's looking at, if you're looking for dietary advice, it's looking at who's giving that advice. Are they qualified to give that advice?
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Because some of the stuff out there is scarily awful.
Okay.
And are they selling something to you?
Okay, right, yes. It's a big one, isn't it?
If people are freely giving advice that doesn't involve sales, I mean, I suppose even as a dietitian, if I'm on my freelance social media, then, I suppose I'm selling my services, aren't I? So it's buyer beware, isn't it, I guess?
Yeah, I guess.
And also, how does it make you feel? How does the advice make you feel?
Okay, right.
Because I get people that are following advice they've taken and they feel really unwell.
Oh, right. Okay, right.
Sometimes they are really unwell.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Or they can't, they can't go out with their kids, or they can't, it's... How is it affecting you?
It's your body telling you there's something wrong.
Yeah,
really,
how much money are you putting out on it as well?
Yeah.
Because people will pay thousands for tests and things like that have no validity at all.
Yeah.
Someone's making money. It's not me.
well, just when you're talking about all that, I was thinking that I know it's kind of getting popular now, the detox thing.
Yeah.
Where people are like, I'll drink this liquid stuff for 3 days.
Yeah.
And you look very sad. So obviously that's a load of rubbish. Is it?
We have a liver, we have a whole organ to detox us. We don't need any type of, we don't need a detox regime. Our body does that for us. It's an amazing piece of kit that we've got.
I know.
It's just not necessary to do that.
That's
and it's hard because, at the end of the day, people just want to feel well and healthy and be well and healthy.
Yes.
So you can't really blame people for just going, well, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Because health is about sales pitches as well. So if you know anything about sales pitches, which I don't know very much about sales pitches, it's not something that you do when you learn to be a dietitian. But if you look, the most successful influencers and companies selling nutrition stuff are very good at selling.
Yes, yeah.
You know, they don't have to be good clinically. They just have to be good at selling.
Hooking you in and keeping you in. It's a monthly thing or it's a biannual thing, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Do you think, do you have an opinion one way or the other, diets in general, are they getting better? Are they getting worse? Are they a little bit of A and B? Like you hear a lot now about there's loads of processed foods coming out. There's lots of kids eating sweets. That is it generally getting more processed? The no % fat has other bad things in it to make it sweeter.
It's really hard actually, because in some aspects are getting better and some aspects are getting worse.
Right. Okay.
So I think it's quite a mixed picture, really.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, what everyone forgets is the biggest determinant of a healthy, balanced diet and health is poverty.
Okay, right, yes.
So, you know, if you are poor, you are more likely to get conditions related to diet and food.
I get you, yeah.
And that's the bit that tends to be forgotten. So we're all busy talking about ultra-processed foods and, you know, you need to eat more plant-based and all of this. But actually underlying that is, if you live in one of the more deprived areas of the country, you will have poorer health outcomes. So the biggest thing we can do for nutrition and health in general is make sure that people aren't poor.
I get you, I understand.
But, you know. Yeah,
it's not it's not that easy. But it is a very interesting thing as well, that obviously more takeaways, less time to do stuff.
I mean, look at the areas. You only have to look. If you go into areas where people have less money, you will find there's just rows and rows of takeaways, cheap takeaways.
Yeah, I get you. I understand.
Vape shop and a betting shop.
Yeah.
None of those are going to help people's health.
Yes. It's very interesting. Very good. In general, so if you were to, and I don't, do any of your friends ask you for dietary advice? Do you get any of that?
No.
You shut it down, do you? Very good. Well, yeah.
Not if they want to stay friends.
Is there anything, again, going back to what you said earlier on, just balanced diet, eating vegetables, that sort of thing, is that a nice kind of general thing for everybody, that if you're not feeling that your diet is right, just look at, is it balanced, is it healthy, are you eating vegetables, is that?
Yeah, one of the best types of diets still, and it was even when I qualified for general overall health, is a Mediterranean type diet.
Okay.
So, you know, full of fruits, vegetables, you know, things like fish, that type of thing, you know, olive oil, you know.
Okay, that's very interesting.
You know, that type of diet is still one of the healthiest types of diets to go for. And that's nice, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
That's a great diet.
I was going to say, is pizza and pasta included in that?
In moderation.
All right, because again, it's something that...
But even then, pizza and pasta in sort of Mediterranean countries is not like the American pizza pasta, is it?
Yeah.
You know, it's different portions of different proportions of vegetables and things.
Yes.
Different. So kind of, for overall health, your Mediterranean diet, loads of fruit and veg, and physical activity and sleep. Don't forget sleep.
Okay, very important. That's interesting. Sleep is hugely important.
It is important, yeah.
Well-being.
Yeah, for health.
It makes sense, so it does. Do you have any predictions or any thought process on the future of diets and stuff like that? Do you think they'll get better? Do you think it'll stay roughly the same? Do you think it'll be still the thing of poor people will still suffer while more well-off people will have better diets? Do you think anything will change going forward?
I think that will still be the same. I can't see that changing at all, unfortunately. I wish it would. I think there'll be a continued move towards kind of, to call it non-diet diets. I know that sounds really weird, but I don't mean it in the sense of not restricting. I mean it in the sense of having things instead of food. You know, so a bit like probably when I was a kid, it was all on the kind of, you know, Buck Rogers and things like that, you know, where they'd have like space food and things. Okay,
right, yes.
But we've got this move now to kind of meal replacements, haven't we? Or you're busy in your day, so have a meal replacement drink or something like that. And I think there'll be more move towards kind of that type of replacing food because it's just easier to do.
Yeah, I get you.
And more kind of personalised supplements and things like that for people.
Okay.
Which is kind of a shame in a way, because actually what would probably be better is if we got back to what a basic, balanced, healthy, normal diet looks
I know
like.
what you mean. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
It's interesting though. It's interesting if it goes that way. Which it does make sense. It's huge now, isn't it?
It is
You didn't see it
huge.
10,
It is
15 years ago.
huge. And there's a place for it. There's definitely a place for it because,
Yes.
you know, I work with some people who just, you know, if they didn't have some sort of, you know, meal replacement supplement, they would miss food or they wouldn't eat.
Okay, right, yes.
You know, and then it's helpful for them.
Yeah.
But for the average person, really, we want you to.
Yes.
You get much more from food than just nutrition, don't you?
I get, you sit
you
down
get
with
that
family or you sit down with somebody and
you get the social side of it, but also you get that, you know, most people, not all, get that lovely pleasure from all the kind of flavours and smells and tastes and textures and that type of food, which, you know, is lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Well,
if you're a foodie, that's the whole pleasure, isn't it?
Well, it's interesting as well. The other thing that there's for food, for me anyway, there seems to be a big divide that there's people who eat one thing at a time, and then there's me who just mixes it all together and then eats it, and it's a bit of a weird thought process that my wife, for example, eat her spuds or carrots or fish type of thing, go through it like that.
Yeah.
So just into a big kind of ball and then eat it all, and different ways of people enjoying that.
And that it's really important to your enjoyment to find the way that works for you, because actually if you were forced to have everything in little individual piles, you wouldn't get the enjoyment out of that food in the same way.
Yeah.
It would be annoying.
Yes.
You wouldn't get the same taste and textures that you that you enjoy.
Yeah.
But for somebody who doesn't like it mixed up, who likes it all separately, it would be the opposite process. If you mixed all their food up, they perhaps wouldn't be able to eat it.
Yeah, I get you.
So obviously I work with a lot of people who have ADHD and are autistic.
Yes.
You know, so a lot of people that I work with, they're either sensory avoiding or sensory seeking. So the sensory seekers will be mixing it all up and having loads of chili and, you know, lots of taste and texture and then the people that have more difficulty with sensory issues will kind of maybe separate out the food, so maybe that it doesn't touch each other and that, you know, they eat it individually. So
again, going back autistic people and ADHD people, is there any general things that help them people, that tips or anything like that, or is it different for everybody?
It's different for everybody, just like everybody is different. But the main thing is to listen to what the person says.
I get you, yes.
You know, so if someone says to you that they don't want their meat and their carrots touching, and if it does, they can't eat it, well, don't make them mix it together.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's what happens. People are like, oh, well, you need to change all that. And it's like, well, no, you don't. You don't get different nutrition if it's mixed together than if it's separate.
Yes, I get you.
You just get a different experience which works for you. So I think always listen to the person and what they're saying.
Yeah.
Don't undo the things that make them happy.
Very good. It's a fair point. Another very random one that's just popped into my head. Kids eating meat. So my daughter, it's all right, but she's not a huge fan of it. And we've a couple of cousins that aren't huge fans of meat. Is that something that, are you born with that kind of appetite of, I'd like to eat it, or is it that do things develop? But do people get trained to like things, if you know what I mean? Or are people born with, I don't like carrots, for example. Was I born with that, or have I just had a bad experience that I've blocked out with carrots that I don't want?
It's an interesting concept, isn't it? Because I don't know that we entirely know all of that. I would say that mostly it's to do with our environment rather than what we're born with. But we do know that people are born with different taste perception, for instance.
Okay, right, yeah. So
you know, so some people taste things more than other people.
Yes.
So that can be a factor, can't it?
Yeah.
So, you know, like some vegetables have got a very specific taste profile. If you think about things like cabbage and broccoli, they've got...
Yeah.
You could say, I don't find them bitter because I'm a sensory seeker, so I love all the flavours of everything.
Right.
But, you know, some people find those quite bitter and unpleasant to eat.
Yeah.
So we do have different... Some people are kind of, you know, taste things so strongly that things are unpleasant. So I think there's a bit of genetics and a bit of nurture as well.
Very good. Anything else you want to talk about? Anything you want to add in? I'm kind of done, to be honest.
I don't think so.
Very good. That was fantastic.
That went all right, didn't it?
Yeah. Thanks very much. Thanks for your time. It's been really good.